and gentlemen, I am going to call to order School Committee Meeting 1642 on Thursday, February 9th at 6 p.m. in our Mount Everett Library, but with Zoom participation as well. And it is so wonderful to see for the first time students, parents, teachers, so it's great. My objective is, I've said, I'd like it that we do not have to have a meeting on the 13th as well. So we will go through this agenda. We are going to use the methodology we've done in the past, which is if you need a drink, water or coffee. If you need the bathroom, we are not going to break. It's going to be take care of your needs and come back in. All right. First item on our agenda, approval of the minutes of school committee meeting 1640 of January 5th.
So moved.
Carl,
Second.
thank you. The second from Art. Any comments on those minutes?
Move to approve the minutes by unanimous consent.
Okay. We have, let's see, is Nancy the only remote on our,
I believe so.
I think so, okay. Nancy, is that a yes?
Yes.
Okay. Do I have any objection here? Seeing no objection, the minutes are approved. They did some job of those minutes, especially with the transportation report. All right. Next, enrollment.
2B in your package is the enrollment report. The number for as of 2/1/23 is 623 students.
Do we have any comments on the enrollment packet? Okay. Beth, do you have any miscellaneous correspondence?
I don't believe so. I don't believe there is.
All right. Do we have a student representative report?
We do. We don't?
She told me we did. I don't know.
I don't know if our student is on.
Doesn't seem to be.
Okay, maybe
No,
not yet, but we
not
are
yet.
expecting one, so that's
Okay, well, then in that case, why don't we move to the student spotlight?
wonderful.
Okay, Student Spotlight is our middle school and high school robotics teams. We had 9 representatives from those teams. We had a total of 15 students in all participate. So this year, we're going to talk a little bit about the game this year. And we're going to talk a little bit about the program, and then you guys can ask them some questions about the robots. So,
Chris, let me just do one thing. If you'd put a thumbs up from the Zoom group, if you can hear.
Oh, good.
Good.
all right. So Vex Robotics, for those that you don't know, is a worldwide robotics event. There are nearly 20,000 teams now across the globe that participate in this every year. It's the same game. There's even university level that some colleges participate in. Same game, but they get to use a little more advanced parts than we do, but that's okay. So this year we had a whole new group. Last year we graduated 8 seniors from this program, and we really didn't have any really students behind them. And I think probably some of that had to do with COVID and not being able to run it as consistently after school as we had once upon a time. But now we're getting past that, and this group has been great. This is the first year we've moved it all the way down to the 6th grade. So while we went to an event that was mostly high school teams, there were a few middle school teams. Next year we're hoping to find some events where the middle schoolers can compete on their own a little bit. But these guys did great competing against high schoolers. I think they all did a great job. It was a big learning curve for them this year to be able to figure out how all this stuff goes together, how you program it. That's why it took us a little bit to we took a later venue to go to a later event. So back on January 28th, we went to an event. It was 79 teams down in Middletown, Connecticut, 5 of which were our groups right here. So I'm going to have these guys coming up. Tatum is on our high school team. Come up right here. He was on Team A of the high school, and we have Sophie and Ben and Kai. You guys come on up here. You guys were on the B team of the high school. So we sent 2 high school teams. Middle school, Nico was on our middle school team. You ended up driving the A bot, right?
Yeah.
Come on up here. And Tanya, you were one of the coaches and, on the A-Bot.
Yep.
Chet was the programmer on the A-Bot. Mike and Silas, you guys drove the C-Bot. And I can't forget my assistant coach over here, Lindsay Brown, who helped us out all year in this endeavor. Now let's go real quick. We're just going to explain the game. Who wants to talk about the discs? Tatum?
So the disc can be used to score points in 2 ways. One is by shooting it into your net, and the other is by the enemy team missing, shooting into their net, and landing in the area around the net.
So there's always usually a high goal and a low goal. So the discs can be scored high for more points, low for fewer points. Let's explain the roller. Nico? Just so you know, the roller's blue and red because the game is blue versus red. There's always 2 blue robots versus 2 red robots. There's 4 in the ring at a time. It's a 12-foot by 12-foot field. We'll show you a picture of the game in just a moment. Go ahead. How's that work?
In the complete roller, there's 2 black slots that'll be right here, and if there's 1 color between the 2 slots, the color, the team that has that color gets, I think it was 3 points.
Those were worth 10, actually.
10.
Yeah. Yep. All right, that's a spinner. And then the last way you can score is covering tiles. Who wants to talk about string here? Ben, you want to talk about string?
At the end of the game, the horizontal expansion limit is taken away, and so you can expand as much as you want. So many of the robots use string to spread out throughout the board, and however many tiles you cover throughout the board, you get 3 times that many points.
Very good. All right, so just a quick demonstration here, guys. Let's see, the C team. Which one was your primary controller? We got, that's 1, right? You were the driver? You were the driver. And you had the controllers, right? So Mike and Silas here as 2 6th graders in this mostly high school event of 79 teams came in 22nd. So, so the middle schoolers, Tell you want to talk a little bit about your strategy before you show what strategy-wise you guys didn't shoot. We said middle school-wise, let's not try to do that first year out. It's pretty complicated. So we just plowed, right? We plowed the discs into the corner. You want to talk about your plow a little bit? Some of the engineering that went into your plow. It sounds simple, but it wasn't so simple, was it?
Yeah, so the plow, it was a little bit too high in that the discs would go under it. So we bent the plow up a little bit and we put it down so it would grab the discs and it wouldn't go underneath the robot.
Very good. And Owen, you're here. You guys want to talk about driving the robot and getting stuck on discs and what you did to help with that?
Yeah, driving the robot was could be a challenge because we decided against going tank control, which is all 1 controller but multiple controls, and went with 2 controllers. That was just what they called RC, so that you were able to move. But getting stuck on discs, if we drove backwards for our robot, our discs would get under the robot, so we had to be careful. Like if we wanted to go up and spin something, we'd have to drive backwards, but if we were going discs, we had to know to drive forwards and not accidentally drive backwards because we get discs stuck.
And what'd you put on here? You guys, all the middle schoolers went to that, right?
We put on a chain so that it was a 4-wheel drive robot, so those 2 wheels would be connected.
Very good. All right, you guys, you want to spin your this thing here? You can just spin it all the way if you want. So this was the intent here was to cover the tiles at the end of the match, right? So we put the spindle on there, and then to spin that blue and red spinner, you had this guy right here, right? So that was the basis of all the middle school robots: push and spin. And anyone want to explain autonomous though? The game starts off with autonomous. Who wants to talk about that real quick? Anybody? Take it. Want to take it?
For autonomous, you had to pre-program your robot to do a very specific task, which for my group was spin one of the wheels and shoot 2 discs into the net. And you only had 15 seconds for this autonomous mode.
All right, so 15 seconds autonomous, and then a minute 45 remote control.
And during autonomous, you couldn't go past the middle line.
Right. All right, so you want to, is yours fired up here? So we'll show you on the high school side. This, you had number 2.
Red.
Yeah, that's for your, yeah, so you want to talk a little about your spinner here for shooting? You have a drink right here, you might want to move that.
Our spinner wasn't going to be fast enough with just using the motor, so we used a big motor, or a big wheel going onto a smaller wheel to spin the actual shooter to make it go faster, so we could shoot actually across the field.
So,
Just
and then,
1 second. If any of the parents or siblings want to come back here to see better, please feel free.
and then just in terms of training yourself to drive it, there's a sequence to shooting the discs, right?
Yeah. To shoot the disc, you can't just push it up towards the wheels, or else it'll get jammed, and then we just can't shoot for the rest of the game. So we have to.
You have to get that up to speed first before you turn on your conveyor, right? All right, so give that a shot. Let's see what it looks like. Gotcha.
Watch that through.
And is the objective to poke out someone's eye?
So I'm going to share my screen real quick to show you a couple pictures of what that all looked like. So real quick, this is the field that they played on. Okay, this is what we have in our robotics lab. We buy the new field every year. So the frame of the field is always the same, 12 by 12 foot field. What you do inside changes every year. This year was discs, last year was rings, the year before was balls, the year before that was cones, the year before that was blocks. So it changes up a little bit each year. There's not always a net, there's not always shooting, sometimes it's stacking or what have you. But you can see where the autonomous line Tatum talked about, and the spinners in each of the corners, there's 4 of those. So it's kind of modeled off the Frisbee golf concept. And so here's Mike and Silas, they're getting ready for their match. We have a picture of, there's the B team there, the middle school B, Owen, Jaden, and Mateo driving their robot. Here's our high school B team. We got Sophie and Kai and Ben there driving theirs. Tatum there driving his. Declan's kind of behind that girl there, so we didn't get a good shot of him, but he's there. There's Nico and Savannah driving their robot. And so that's my part of talking. I don't know if you guys have any questions for them about their engineering, design, and the processes they went through.
Carl?
Is there a standard robot? That is, does every team use the same robot?
They use the same. They use the same parts. You have to buy the parts from the Vex Robotics hardware manufacturer, but there's no instructions. There's no blueprint for what you're going to do. Every robot's different. We chose middle school wise. We chose to build 3 very similar robots.
And who made that decision? You?
No, not necessarily. Their first year. Lindsay and I were sort of. As mentors, we're there to give some guidance, and we kind of said, you guys might want to go in this direction. Being their first year, I think this would probably be the best way to go about it. And next year they're going to be a lot more prepared, and we even talked about starting up the season again in May. At the end of April will be the Vex World Championship. The new game will be released for the following school year. These guys some of them may want to get going a little bit earlier and do more creative stuff the following year.
But,
Carl,
I just have one follow-up question. Given that you have to buy the parts to construct the robot from, what's the name of the company?
Vex.
Yeah. But then you can design it they can get together and say, this is the design that we think works best?
Yes,
and we'll
absolutely.
Okay, great.
Yeah. You had a situation where Tatum actually took the robotics class, so he had a little bit more time to work on his robot than some of the after-school kids, which you can see is a little bit more complex because of that. Dennis?
Yeah, just is everybody's stuff across the country all the same?
It's the same game, same hardware, yeah, same hardware, same software,
Okay,
yeah.
so there's a single supplier, in effect?
In this game, yes, that's the rules of their game. You have to buy our hardware. It levels the playing field. When we used to participate in First Tech Challenge, they were first like that, and then they started to expand. And they said, oh, you can buy from this hardware manufacturer, this hardware manufacturer. You can go to the hardware store and you can buy this and that. And it quickly became a race for money, and whatever you could tell what the most expensive robots were. Paul and I decided a number of years ago that's not the way we wanted to go. We like the VEX platform. It's very user-friendly, and it's much more affordable because of that, because it's a single manufacturer. They're not looking to, price gouge you. Their prices are very reasonable, and it's nice that it's one manufacturer. It levels the playing field for all schools. So a small school like Mount Everett can go up against big schools from Fairfield County or the Boston area or what have you, and we can compete.
Obviously, by looking at these, you can see the outstanding quality and effort that they put into creating these. How much time did they spend, trying to get this finished product?
Well, like I said, Tatum had the class. So Tatum, you want to talk a little bit about the class?
We had more time to do it, but we basically finished the robot about a day or two before the competition.
Cutting it close.
It kept breaking, or just things would stop working. And then the entire competition, we were fixing it. We had a launcher similar to Ben's, but then we realized that we couldn't use our roller with the launcher, and the roller would be more points. So we had to take out the launcher, fix that. We had to sand stuff down, take parts out. It was
I will say,
On the fly, right?
Yeah.
On the
yes,
fly.
yeah.
Wow.
I actually was going to say to you guys, I noticed on the last match, you guys must have got some damage to it. So in the match, there's an area called the pit, and the pit is where you prepare your robot, and then there's the competition field. Typically, the pit is the cafeteria. We got a classroom this time. That was kind of nice. We all had got one classroom together. And then you go to the gym to compete. There were 3 fields in the gym, and they just keep rotating. They each got to run the robot 5 times. The after-school kids, our middle schoolers, all our Mount Everett kids are very, very busy, right? They're in robotics, they're in the play, they're in sports. So a lot of these kids had a lot of competition for their time, which is another factor that limited some of their success. But at the same time, I think they did fantastic. They just, for their first time out, it's hard to even fathom if you haven't done it what the event is like. I assume maybe, I don't know, Sophie or Ben or Kai, you want to talk about? We got there, we were like second match, right? We hadn't even gone through inspection yet, and you guys were being rushed up on the field. It's a learning experience just to how to plug into the game control system, how you put the Ethernet into your game control, how the referee tells you to go. You guys are trying to set your robot up, first time ever doing that, right? Stressful?
Absolutely.
spastic insanity.
But once you've done it, well, then you have experience and you can do it.
That brings me to my questions. What skills do you think you've acquired as a result of robotics that are sort of like lifelong skills that you might not have had before?
Problem solving, absolutely.
Certain patience.
Working under pressure. It's really, really hard to stay cool when you haven't gone through inspection and you're already supposed to be on the match. So it's a little easier now to work under pressure, which I would believe is a very good lifelong skill.
I would agree. David, I think I saw you, is
Yeah.
that your hand going up? David?
Yeah, the automation part of the competition, is it, how automated is it? Is it 100% automatic? How did you write the program?
We use block-based program, but Chet, you were pretty good early on with that. Do you want to talk a little bit about the sensor that we had on there? What we did in Autonomous?
For Autonomous, there's no real way of interacting with the robot, so I put an optical sensor in mine, set it to a color, and put it a bit low spinner so that the color that I was sensing would be on the bottom. So if we have a blue tube and the blue on top, it would spin until the sensor saw red, and the red would be on the bottom.
You invented that problem solving?
Yeah.
Cool.
He's talking about, so this is your Avon, right? So this right here is the optical sensor he's talking about. So this, in autonomous, this was his robot approached this spinner and was looking to spin this to a certain color up top. So
Wow.
you had 15 seconds. You guys, first you pushed some discs into the logo, then you backed up, found the spinner, and spun it, right? There you go.
All right, I'm going to turn to Art before I ask another question.
Nancy,
So
too.
is
And
there,
Nancy.
Oh, Nancy's hands up.
is any time, is there a time limit on how many hours you can work on this? Or is it just
No.
generated by,
No time limit. So that's, you'll see kids this summer will have YouTube videos of their robot that's already ready to go for the following school year. You might see homeschool groups that this is probably what they do all day long. So no, there's no time limit that you have to log that.
I have one other question.
Oh, right ahead.
So you went for points rather than, you took your crane up. Can you explain why you did that?
Here, I'll show it. It was
Part of it is a limit
very
motors,
similar
right?
to this. But they didn't, they used, they used this.
Might be to
We had
tell them
we were
there's a
limited
limit
by
of motors, right?
So we had to use the same motor that we were using for the spinner.
Eight motors is all you get.
Yeah. To launch this.
Yep.
And we had to move the spinner up, and we would have to recreate that, and we just didn't have the time, so we had to remove that.
And going back to the autonomous, something that, when we talk about how much time do you have, one thing we ran short on time this year, which I would really like to see to get to next year, is there's also a side component to this. There's another field going on that's called skills. And there's a 1-minute remote control, 1-minute autonomous in the skill set. Now, that was beyond what we could do this year. But, if we start up in May and we get a drive base going and maybe we meet in the summer a little bit, or we have a little more time next year, that would be the next level to get to in that skills competition. If we go back 5 years ago, those 8 seniors that just graduated, when they were in 8th grade, when they were 8th grade, they had a very good robot. Went to the Southern New England Championship Finals, lost by a single cone. When they were in 10th grade, just the COVID year, right before COVID shut down the Southern New England Championship, that's how they qualified for the Southern New England Championship. Didn't get to go because of COVID, but they didn't win a match necessarily. They didn't win an event, but they went to the skills and they ran their robot for a minute of autonomous, a minute of driver control. And there's a whole worldwide leaderboard of keeping that. Your best run of each gets tallied up. You can do it as many times as you want, and the best one they'll always keep track of. And there's a worldwide leaderboard, so you can see how you stack up against all other 20,000 teams out there in the world. And if you're high enough in the rankings, you can get like an invite to your regional championship.
So I have a couple, how many of you are returning next year?
All of them.
And do you have the word out to bring on can you take more students?
Sure, yeah, we can always take more. I mean, we're hoping for, some 6th graders, some current 5th graders. We're hoping they want to join 6th grade. These guys that are 6th and 7th grade right now, moving into 7th and 8th grade, we have, some good hopes that they could really compete for a middle school Southern New England Championship.
And do any of the students I mentioned a course, they're able to get credit for a course?
Yes, there is a VEX robotics course that we offer in the first semester where they can specifically work on this competition.
Now, you guys may not have heard, I know you work with Plaskolite,
Yeah.
but I was at a meeting where Stephen Boyd, who heads Boyd Technologies, a lot of your parents may have heard of, was totally admiring our robotics program. So his company is up in Lee, but he said he was so impressed by what we do with robotics down in, as he said, this little school. So we're really proud of you, as long as you don't hit us with those things.
Nancy.
Yeah, I saw that.
And I'm going to turn Nancy Worthington, one of our school committee members who's up there.
Hey guys, I just, I'm really proud of you guys. I think that to put a project like this together, a lot of it's trial by error. I'm speaking as a natural scientific illustrator, as an artist, and it requires a fair amount of engineering. So this is kind of maybe a rude question, But how much of your time was spent troubleshooting and trying to figure out, in this process of creating functional robots? Because I can't imagine that it just all kind of happened. So, yeah, that's my question.
Who wants to take that question? Someone else says. Start with Kai. Kai, go ahead.
For a brief estimate, upwards of 50%.
What would you say, Ben?
That's pretty good. Anybody else?
It took quite a bit of troubleshooting to improve our robot. So initially we had something similar to what Tatum's group had, which worked fairly well. However, it wasn't shooting discs fast enough, so we tried to increase the gear ratio. And I mean, this took weeks, but we were trying to do multiple rows of what we currently have to increase the gear ratio to like 1 to 50 or something like that. And eventually we found an alternative, but that took weeks of our time, and I mean, that's fine, but I mean, that's how it works.
Welcome to the real world. I mean, there's so much of it. I think people don't realize with something like this or any kind of engineering or art, which is an engineering thing too, how much time is spent figuring and figuring again. And great. Congratulations to you guys. Nice job.
I would recommend anybody who has the time. Chris has been really great about letting people who want to come in and see what's going on. And I haven't seen your group, but in the past, I am so impressed how you guys solve problems on the spot. And then watching the YouTube video of a competition, and I'm like, I would have been in tears. I mean, I totally would have been in tears. And then they're figuring it on the spot. Kim, you were next.
I have one more question. Is this kind of unique to our school, or are there other schools in our area in like southern Berkshire or central Berkshire that has this program?
Western Mass-wise, I think it's us and Westfield Tech maybe that do
really?
this.
So it's something that's
I think
very beneficial for our
Mount Greylock
district.
may have a robotics team in a different program than us, but in terms of Vex Robotics, no. And even when we were doing First Tech Challenge, we were the only ones really in Western Mass doing that. And one of the reasons to move to Vex was it's a Southern New England regional that when we did FTC, we always had to compete in Massachusetts. We were always going to Worcester and Boston. At least here we can go to Hartford and Danbury and Waterbury. So they're a little bit, but I was just so I had the number today, there are 400 Vex teams in Southern New England. It's
Wow.
highly concedented in,
And we're the only one.
We're the only one in Western Mass.
Wow.
I'll tell you a little story. Chris and Paul O'Brien piled into the marshmallow buses to bring our kids to a competition. And there were schools like from the eastern part of our state where they had like 3 large fancy buses. They had 5, one of the schools was at Newton, that had like 5 teams, and they could pick the best out of the 5 teams. And we were the little engine that could.
Nice.
Carl, and I'm only because of time.
No,
but
this is very,
please,
very quick.
This is really a part of what we do.
This is a question for either our Madam Superintendent or Chris or both. How is this funded?
It's funded, original seed money was all Eagle Fund.
And now, like for the coming year, how will it be funded?
Now it's in the school budget.
Okay. Do you need more money?
I think we're okay. We're always looking for more grants, though. Like I said, we have some partners. We could continue to partner with the Eagle Fund a little bit, Glasgow Light, that kind of stuff. Yeah, I think we're okay.
But why don't you test the school budget? See, there's a very impressive display here, and just ask the finance committee to give you more money.
You have a chance at the table.
Now, and now I have a comment to make, and a little bit of history, sort of ancient history, but not really.
I would like some hydroponics to say.
So, it wasn't that long ago that Mount Everett was the Massachusetts State Robotics Champion. Massachusetts State Robotics Champion, that means all schools for 3 consecutive years, right? 3 consecutive years, wasn't it? And was it 2015 that we went? Because I was there, I was a chaperone, although I think I was an anti-chaperone in terms of the advice that I gave students. But I chaperoned students to St. Louis, which was the World Championship, and it was, and so I highly recommend to anybody, if you want to, any adult, if you want to learn how much you don't know and how much smarter these kids are than we are, go to a robotics match and you will be amazed. And at St. Louis, which was in the beautiful Union Station, historic train station, and you were there and Paul was there and a batch of other people were there, teams from Japan, Russia, Norway, everywhere, across the Alaska, it was amazing. And the camaraderie between the students was really exceptional. How students who were competing against Mount Everett, who was competing against the team from Montana, how they worked together to solve problems that one team had, even though they were competing against them. It was just, that's nearly 8 years ago, and I remember it so clearly now, how great an experience it was.
So I will say, with the First Tech Challenge, when we won those state championships, there was only about maybe 80 to 100 schools doing First Tech Challenge in Massachusetts. As I mentioned, there's like 400 schools doing VEX in Southern New England. So winning, we don't have a state championship in VEX. You have the regional. So you have a Southern New England championship. For high school, it's a 2-day event. Middle school, it's a 1-day event. So if we could ever get back there and win it, then VEX does their world championship in Dallas, because that's where their headquarters are. So we might need some extra money for the Dallas trip. We're not taking a bunch of money.
Keep thinking that way.
We've got to fly and we've got to ship the robots. So.
Yeah.
So, building it up.
So Dallas
Dennis.
for next year.
Dennis.
Can I ask one more question?
Sure.
Of course.
Out of the young people that have gone through the program, have we had anybody that has then gone on in their older career to get engaged in things that involve the programming background and everything that they learned here?
Real quick, early in the programs, Samantha Swartz, she ended up going to WPI, now works for Google. She works for Google's subsidiary, Waymo. Waymo is an autonomous car company. They're test marketing in Arizona right now.
Right.
So the same way you call up an Uber, out there you call up a Waymo, this autonomous car comes up and picks you up, takes you to your appointment. Fellow team of hers, Karina Alden, is at the NASA Space Center as a weather forecaster, solar weather forecaster for the working on the mission to Mars. And we've had a wonderful story just this past summer. Ellis Waldman, who graduated from this program 5 years ago, he came right back to the Berkshires. He's working up at the Berkshire Innovation Center for air tech, and they make cable harnesses for the aerospace industry.
Has he spoken to our current students? And if
No, I
not,
know he
could we
wants to.
invite
So
him?
we may have him come in towards the end of the year.
That would be great. That would be great. Well, I mean, we probably would prefer listening to you for the rest of the evening than doing the rest of the business. Again, invite us in, and please, don't forget if you need funds. I still have a bunch of bulbs that I bought from your last fundraiser.
If we need to.
We're proud of you, we really are.
Way.
And
In addition with Paul and the early years, but congratulations on what you achieved.
thank you. And
Yourself and your students.
I hope you heard what Nancy said about the pride. I think also this calls for an article for the Sheffield Times, which I'd be more than happy to share, with the other towns.
I have a great photo.
And I was going to say with a great photo, because I see a couple of Sheffield, maybe you could co-author.
Send it to me, because I want to make sure it gets into the Monterey News, because we have Monterey students in there.
Okay, great.
Yeah, you have five village news as well.
Wonderful. So can we do that soon?
We're planning an end of the year pizza party on Monday, so we'll take a nice team photo.
Great, and write the article. Wonderful. Thank you again so much. And to your families who support you in all of this.
Thank you guys for showing up and sticking around.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, really.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
Can't you leave them for us to play with? You know?
Chris,
They did
thanks
actually let
so
me play with it
much.
once. They did, yeah, I have a photo and they
I'd probably break it.
in the pit. I was very concerned. I had a lot of people around me who were also concerned. Yeah.
Yes.
All
Okay.
those kids are in there, my daughter Alexis sings with them.
Would you like me to take the
Just
trips
gonna say-
before any comment or anything, or
Where
just
my
do
daughter sits?
public comment?
She did robotics, but she's also a drama kid, so they conflicted. So she did do robotics the first half of this year, but she didn't do the competition.
Going to the basketball game. We'll take public comment and then we'll move it up.
Okay, if you can get, yeah.
We're going to basketball game?
We're not going to the basketball.
No, we're not.
We're going to basketball game?
Focus.
Focus.
Keep on rubbing it in. All right. Our student representative's still not here from what I see. No,
I don't think so.
I don't see anybody there. All right, why don't we turn then public comment? Don't all raise your hands. Oh, wait, no, Lucy Prashker, head of our regional planning board. Lucy.
Hey, good evening, everyone. Lucy Prashker, I live in Alford. I'm the chair of the Regional School District Planning Board, and I'm here to make 3 requests of the school committee. But before I do that, I just wanted to add my applause to the robotics team. I have to say I credit robotics, and I can't remember if it was 4th or 5th grade that my daughter Alice began in robotics, and I credit that for launching her career as an astrophysicist. So in terms of developing skills that are lifelong skills that carry you through, she could be Exhibit A on robotics. It's a great program.
Where is she now?
She's getting her PhD at McGill University in Montreal.
Oh, wow. Awesome. Okay.
Yeah. So, the 3 requests of the school committee I'm here to make. 2 of them I've already raised with Bonnie at our community outreach subcommittee meeting. The 3rd is prompted by my review of your agenda for tonight, where I saw something on the agenda that I wanted to address, and I'm addressing the request to you now because I don't know if I'll have a chance to address them when you pick this up in your agenda. So the first request is that your school committee, your superintendent, work with us, the Regional School District Planning Board, and our community outreach subcommittee collaboratively and together on a joint community education campaign. We talked about that with Bonnie over a month ago, early January meeting, and we asked that the parent outreach, the community outreach that the school committee does be done in cooperation and collaboration with us. I asked that to be put on the agenda of the school committee before you actually launched. I don't know if it was the Tuesday night's meeting, but that apparently didn't happen. I know you had a school committee meeting that was canceled, so it's never put to the school committee before the community meeting was actually held. But I think it's really important when folks get together and have questions about our work, that there be someone there to answer and respond to the questions. I think otherwise it can be very frustrating for folks who are asking questions and no one is there to to respond or give any information. So I think it's a lost opportunity if we do this separately instead of together. And I really ask that in the future you involve us, have someone there who can respond to questions, because I think it's in everyone's interest to get as much accurate information out in sort of real time, so people get their questions answered when the questions are asked. I also think having separate initiatives going feeds what's sort of an unfortunate narrative of us against them. Half of your school committee is on our board. They're at every meeting. They speak at every meeting. We talk all the time. 2 of your school committee members are on our community outreach board. So it's sort of a natural partnership if you allow it to happen. So that's request number 1. Request number 2, and it's sort of related, is that you permit me to speak at the school committee meetings when you have your planning board updates. For better or for worse, I am the only one who attends every single meeting of the regional school district planning board and all the subcommittee meetings by virtue of my being the chair. I am also the one who is speaking with DESE regularly, speaking with our regional school district planning board council regularly, and so I really am in the best position to answer questions and address concerns that school committee members might have. So I think it would be helpful if you allowed me to speak when you have these updates. The third request has to do with an item on your agenda under unfinished business. And I saw there was going to be some discussion of a possible follow-up letter to the letter that the school committee, the former school committee, not this group that's presently constituted, but the former school committee wrote back in September, so over 4 months ago. I'm asking you not to reopen a wound that has healed, I hope. The original letter was not well received by the other members of the Regional School District Planning Board. I think it resulted in bruised feelings all around, all sides. And I don't think there's any need for it. As I said, 5 of your members, half of your committee, attends our meetings, not only attends our meetings, are board members and have the floor and speak often and eloquently and insightfully on the topics that are before the board. So I really don't think that there is a need for sort of the, again, distancing of us versus you, or you versus us. We're all part of the Regional School District Planning Board. We've been working really productively over the last several months, and I think it would be unfortunate again if we, sort of took a step back and reopened an old wound that I hope has healed. So those are my 3 requests. I really appreciate your letting me speak now, and I hope that I'll have an opportunity to speak more specifically to whatever particular concerns or questions you have later on in the meeting. Thanks.
Thank you. I don't know whether it's Jane Burke or Larry Burke. I see a hand up. You're muted.
Come on, Jane.
Jane or Larry? Okay, do we have any other hands while we're waiting for Jane or Larry?
Okay, I'm sorry, I got
Okay.
the unmute button finally.
Okay, that's Jane Burke.
Yep.
Sorry, and I'm gonna turn my camera on if I can find it. Okay, so I just wanted to thank the school committee for Tuesday night. And I also wanted to thank all the people who came and were able to express themselves. And I understand the frustrations that you faced with integrating the Zoom so that people online could hear what you were saying. But my husband and I persevered through the whole thing, and we were very impressed with what we heard. And I think it's important for us as a community to have our discussions. And a number of questions were put out there, and I trust that you are going to help deliver answers to people who had questions. And I personally find it productive for us as a community to work on our own on this. And I understand Lucy's point of view, but I encourage more of this kind of conversation in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Jane. Any other comments that we have out there? No, I don't see any. All right, in that case, what we're going to do, since we now have the person responsible, if there isn't any objection, I would like to move the approval of the overnight field trip up in the agenda so that we can not keep you trapped here. I'm not trapped.
I think you've got a question for Mr. Stewart.
No, but I think, in fact, Ms. Alcantara had raised her hand before I did.
Why don't we go to?
No, we're not responding to public comment.
No, this isn't a response. Well,
Okay.
I think it probably is best to address Lucy Prashker's second request by a motion. I'm not sure it's absolutely necessary, but we can decide by my motion
Okay,
not
but
being
it's
seconded.
not now.
Yes, my motion is to approve of Lucy being allowed to.
It's not appropriate at this point.
Okay.
Okay, so let's, the trip.
At your convenience. Thank you for moving me up. I do
Yes,
appreciate that.
please, for the few who might not know you, introduce yourself.
My name is Andrew Rapport. I'm a 7th grade social studies teacher here at Mount Everett. And I'm here to request a overnight field trip in June. I don't know how much you know about the trip already. I guess I'll just...
I'd give a little.
Well, I move that we approve the trip.
And do we have a second? Where are you going? Do we have a second so that we could discuss this?
Second.
Okay, and we have Art seconding it.
All right, looks like we're going to
Okay,
Connecticut.
Andrew,
So,
go right
We
ahead.
are going to Stonington, Connecticut. Stonington has a program called the New England Science and Sailing Foundation, and that's actually the second day. And we have gone there before. Pre-pandemic, we did that field trip, and then during the pandemic, we actually did 2 field trips with the folks at New England Science and Sailing. And I think some of our kids made the newspaper, doing this very interesting field trip from the back of their station wagon. So New England Science and Sailing is a science foundation. It started as a sailing foundation. They teach about oceanography and sailing and just marine life in general. So we're doing 3 programs there. They break our group into 3. So one is going to be sailing, one is going to be ocean kayaking, and the third does a science. It's part of an international science research of marine life. Marine life and marine debris. So they take all that information, they go back into a lab, and they, under microscopes, review what they've found, input that into a database, which is shared, like I said, internationally. what we did, when we did this trip the last time, it's about, to get to Stonington, Connecticut, it's about 3.5, 4 hours to get there, just 4 hours back. So the kids are at Stonington for 5 hours. So we've been looking all this time, since the last time we were there, for a place to spend the overnight without going to a hotel, which would be really cost prohibitive. The folks at New England Science and Sailing introduced us to Project Oceanography. And they also have a program, and it turns out that they also have a dorm for us. The dorm is part of UConn's Avery Point. There's security, there's a residential life director, so we will be safe there. The only issue comes down to money, and I think we've got it covered with the fine folks from Berkshire Taconic, from the Eagle Fund. They have funded this in the past, they've funded it again. We've got some funds for the middle school, we've got some science funds, and what we'd like to be able to do is fundraise with kids, and then have each kid potentially pay a certain amount. We haven't figured out what that number is yet, because we haven't really committed, because I didn't know if we'd be able to do this field trip. So the numbers, we will go. I have no doubt that we'll find the funds, and the kids will fundraise to get there. Anything else?
Questions? Yeah. Yes, Dennis.
I move we approve the overnight Project Oceanology trip.
We have that.
We have it in the, we have a second.
Carl did, and Art seconded it, so I don't think we need a new motion.
That sounds great, thank you. I forgot to tell you.
You haven't voted on it.
What do you mean?
Just because we have two different versions.
I forgot my civil procedure. I didn't tell you about Project O. Project O also, in order to stay in their dorm, you have to do one of their activities. So once we get there, we're going to have lunch, maybe do Mystic Seaport if we have time. They have a 2.5-hour cruise that they do, where we're also researching and picking up, I think it's squid that we're going to for the evening program. They dissect that with us. It's really going to be a super scientific field trip. It started as a social studies field trip, and it, obviously, because we found all these sciencey folks, it's turned into a science field trip. But I think it's going to be great. I think the kids are going to really enjoy it, and I think it could be a good tradition.
Carl, you're first.
Just one question, Andrew. Is this a requirement for the course? That is, if you don't go, must you go?
Oh, for our students?
Not you, I mean a student.
You don't have to go.
So it's not a requirement
It's not a requirement,
to
no.
get a
No.
passing grade in the...
Absolutely not.
Okay.
It's just an extracurricular, overnight, end of school year.
A question for you, it's my favorite question. How will we ensure that any family with financial issues is still able to have their child going without turning over their financial?
Again, so like I said, we have funds available to us. If anybody has any financial difficulty whatsoever, I'm gonna point all fingers towards Mr. Carpenter back there. He's been very quiet. We have done field trips like this in the past. There have been financial issues in the past. In this situation, it will get worked out. It will be
Okay,
good.
Good.
We will find a way to make everybody go who wants to go.
Great. David?
Are we voting just to permit the trip, or are we voting to fund it as well? And if so, how much funding are we committing to?
It's funded already.
It's funded.
I don't know if am I allowed to answer?
It's funded.
Right, so it's
we're
already
not-
part of the budget.
It's not, it's.
Grant funded.
Right, they have a grant, the students will be paying, have said it is funded. We're not appropriating any additional funds for it. We are just now approving or not approving a funded overnight field trip. And this is probably, is this our first overnight since the pandemic?
I think that's why I was invited. I think there have been EF tours or overseas tours.
Right.
That have been approved, but I think I'm here because this is.
It's overnight.
Okay. You started to say a however.
If you want to fund something, we could fund next year's field trip.
Okay, if we don't have any further questions, I will take a vote. David?
Yes.
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 And yes.
And Nancy.
Oh, and Nancy, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Nancy.
It is,
You're not easy.
it is unanimous approval. Okay? And I'm ready to debate again with your, our labor simulation.
Anytime.
Okay.
Thank you all.
Thank you so much. Go back and enjoy the game.
It was 10-10 after the first quarter.
Oh, that was my question. All right.
I want a chaperone next year when my son's in 7th grade.
I'll chaperone this year. I'm not eligible.
Are you gonna need chaperones?
Okay, so let us go back now.
That's actually come up. We have 4 female chaperones, 3 male chaperones so far, and some of them are school bus drivers. We have all the chaperones when we're there. So one of the questions was, can we just take, so it's a 1-to-6 ratio of students to chaperones. We have 46 kids right now in the
7th grade.
In the 7th grade, so we were thinking of going with 7 instead of 8 chaperones. But that could be something that we figure out.
Yeah,
down
I
the
mean,
road.
when you get closer.
Yeah.
We've got volunteers here, as long as they're Corey.
Okay.
Okay, let's turn to the business manager's report. Take care.
Thank you.
Let us know the outcome. Go to it, sir.
Okay, thank you. So I just have one item for you tonight. It's the warrant report. So this is a big one because we last had a meeting about a month ago. So I have a lot of items on here, but I'm just really going to touch upon a few of them. The first.
You know what, let us
warrant
turn,
call for Berkshire
Chris,
retirement payment.
let us get to the page.
Where are we?
6A.
Yeah,
6A.
you were on it.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Everyone ready?
I can find it, I'll go for it, I'm sure I will. Go for it, Chris, go on.
I know it's home.
That's right. You're getting.
I got it at home.
Oh, you have it?
No, I didn't find it. Where?
Right here. It's right under
Oh, okay,
enrollment.
good, thank you.
All right, everyone's got it? Your turn, sir.
Okay, so there's a lot of warrants this month. The first 5 of them are all for Berkshire retirement. The next batch of vendor warrants, those are just basically, you know, your bill paying warrants. There's a couple of big ones in there because we have Berkshire health payments. So that obviously bumps up the amount of the warrant by quite a bit. The one on the 20th of January, that's our biggest warrant we've had. Most of that is just due to transportation bills, and there was an MTRS payment of $90,000. So that's why that $432,000 warrant is there. The next batch of warrants, there's about maybe 7 of them there, are all payroll warrants. They're all dated in January, so it might have you scratching your head as to why we had so many payrolls in January. They're not actually all January payrolls. That's just the date that they were posted to the general ledger. They're both December and January payments, along with a couple of payroll taxes and withholding payments. And then the P-card warrants at the bottom, those are basically just purchases made with the district credit card. Again, they're just kind of quick purchases that need to be made for maintenance supplies, things like that we won't order. They just run out and buy them with the district credit card, and then we pay the bill at the end of the month. So not a real lot of excitement to this warrant, but it's quite large. So
I will
I don't know if anyone has any questions.
I will take a motion first, so we can just.
Unless.
Carl, you
yeah.
need a motion first.
That's what I'm going to do.
Oh, okay.
That's what I'm about to do. But I wanted to preface that with saying, unless there's an objection to considering these 4 separate categories separately, I'll move to approve the warrants as contained in page 6A of the agenda for this meeting.
Do we have a second to that?
I second.
We have a second from Kim or Nancy. Either case, any questions?
I have one question, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a limit on what you can spend on the P card for a purchase?
You mean a single purchase dollar limit?
Yes.
I don't believe there is, no. I can certainly find out. I'd reach out to the card issuer, but I don't think there is.
Interesting, okay.
Well, I mean,
I'll double check on it and let you guys know.
it's not so much that there's not a limit, there's a limit per cards in total, and then, but there has to be room for, if there's an emergency part for maintenance, or there's been times when we've had to buy equipment, you're gonna need it pretty big, so certain people have a little bit more leeway than others. You can't just go to Big Y and do your grocery shopping, There are other checks and balances in place with
Okay.
that.
I have
Further
a question for
Carl?
Bonnie. No, for you, I have a question. We used to have, because I was on it, a warrant subcommittee of the school committee. Do we still?
There he is.
Is that you, Dennis?
Yes.
I'm not sure who else is on it.
No, that's it. We found out.
Wasn't it?
We found out that it was not necessary to have a full committee, that one person, in this case Dennis, is the person who serves to check the items that are included in the warrant before it comes to us.
No, I remember when that
And all
happened,
the
yeah.
rest of us, as school committee members, can serve if Dennis is not available.
Okay.
So that's where we stand on that. During the interim, when you were here as school committee and now, we found out that it was not a thing where you needed a full committee sitting there.
Carl, if you want to join, I get lonely.
I'm not champing at the bit to join,
Oh,
but if
great.
you need me to substitute, I would. But is it fair to, so as a follow-up question, is it fair to assume that before a warrant is presented to us for approval by the business manager, some member of the school committee has reviewed the warrants? Okay.
Yeah, they're still in the same packets.
Okay.
I'm glad you brought that up, because new people, what happens is there are packets in each of the areas. When you go in to review it, you are able to see all the backup in each of the categories, and then you can question the business office when there is an issue that you might want additional information. So that is how it's done. Do we have any further questions?
It also requires my signature, so I look at every one of these.
Right. Absolutely. All right, without any further questions, I'll start here. We're voting on whether to approve the warrant report of January 5th, 2023.
Yes.
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 David?
Yes.
And Bonnie, yes.
Nancy?
Oh, and Nancy, I'm sorry. I'm starting with you on the next vote.
Tell me, man, tell me.
Okay. Chris, is that it?
Yes, that's all I have for this meeting.
Okay, number 7, business with district member towns, update on regional school district planning board. We will have the report as original, and then I think it would be appropriate for us to entertain the motion Carl has. So, we have met, we had a full meeting of the entire planning board this week. There has been movement on the regional agreement. There's a new draft agreement that we've been working on. Tomorrow, for any of you who are not on the committee and just want to sit in, there is a meeting of the Finance Subcommittee at 9 a.m. So you can just, again, if you go to 8towns.org, you can scroll down on the first page and you will be able to see any meetings. Just click on it and you can go to that meeting. The Education Committee also met earlier this week and had a serious discussion related to really, in some ways, the goals of the Education Subcommittee. I will turn to my fellow members on the committee. Nancy, I can't call on you first because you weren't at the.
Yeah, no, I did have the opportunity, however, to meet with Deb Phillips, and it was very helpful to both of us to just prepare some stuff. It was great. She was really good colleague to us.
Great. All right, Carl, you're on the committee. Do you have any comment based on our recent meetings?
No, I have no comment, but I just, you said it's now an appropriate time?
No, after, I'm
okay.
calling on all the people who are on the Regional Planning Board first.
No,
Okay.
I have no comment.
Kim?
I wasn't on the education.
No. In general, from our full board meeting, do you have anything else? And you're also on finance.
Yeah, just that, I feel sometimes that the answers aren't always there, even though you ask the questions, so.
Okay. And Jim isn't here tonight. So then with that as a minimum summary, Carl, do you want to introduce your motion and see if we have a second for that?
Yeah. I move that Lucy Prashker, the chair of the 8-town board, be given the opportunity, if she wants to address the school committee regarding issues surrounding that 8-town board.
In other words, this item that's a standing item on our agenda.
Yes, and as Lucy requested, I think it was her second request of the three.
Well, we don't need that in the motion. The motion,
Right.
the first time
Yes.
we've had the motion, because we canceled our last meeting due to the weather, the motion is to have Lucy Prashker be able to provide updates from the Regional Planning Board as the chair when we address the item update on Regional School District Planning Board, our standing item. Do we have a second?
Second?
Okay. Discussion. Art?
I don't think we can, because in policy that we made this so we couldn't have discussion of any kind during the rest of the, so I think this has to go to policy before we can vote on this.
Okay. Kim?
I just feel that, when we're sitting here and discussing our district, it should be allowed as, if she feels like she needs to update us, she can ask us to put it on the agenda so she can do an update. Because we're all sitting in these meetings, we all attend, we all are in our subcommittees, and if there's something that's like a major update, then she can ask.
So are you suggesting
As needed.
are you suggesting that as needed, there would be an update, that would be a
Yeah.
separate item,
Yeah,
not this item?
not that.
Okay. Dennis? Oh, I thought you were making a comment. No.
No comment.
Okay. Any other comments? Yes, Dave.
Assuming this is going to happen, I think we want to make sure that we're getting information that the voters are looking for. We had a lot of questions about how details are going to work out, and we want to be able to have that information so that so the voters can actually see that. And I think that be part of the report would be a useful thing for the community.
Okay, let me just comment on one thing there. The purpose would be, that Lucy's asking for, is that she be able to give an update. There may be 40 things that the public is asking. I don't think the objective is to then grill Lucy on 40 things. Everybody has the ability, I may disagree with you here, everybody has the ability to submit questions to 8towns.org. This is not, I don't view it as a personal grilling session. I think what Lucy has requested is that she be able to provide an update as chair. So that may not address what you are asking for. Okay, yes, Kim.
I mean, I suppose if this does happen and go through and we vote on it or whatever, I think that whatever update should be included in our agenda package so that we have a heads up what's coming.
Agreed.
I agree.
Yes, Dennis.
I don't feel it should happen at all. The function of this school committee is to function for this school district, okay? And any work associated with forming a new district or joining districts or something else should be done outside of our meetings, period.
Okay.
Well, if Dennis's view prevails, then we should not have an update, and I have made this comment before. I'm not sure I still agree with that, my earlier comment. I don't mean earlier today, but at a prior meeting. But if it's true, if Dennis's view is going to prevail, then we should not have it on our agenda at all. If the business of the 8-town district board is not a matter that should be considered by this school committee, then let's not have it as an agenda item. Let's not talk about it at all. If Dennis's view prevails, I disagree with it, but if Dennis thinks, if this committee thinks we shouldn't talk about it because it's not a matter within the governance of the Southern Berkshire Regional School District School Committee, then let's not have it on the agenda at all.
A question, and I don't know if you know it, I'm putting you on the spot. Is there anything you can think of in policy, I'm going to what Art asked, that precludes our having someone from the outside, from the public, speaking at the point of that item?
I can't specifically think of a policy item that we have, but going back to what I just said, and maybe expanding just a little bit more, is that what I think the approach should be is that we should make a decision, like in this meeting, if we want to have somebody come maybe at the next meeting. I'm saying it should not be part of our regular business, period.
Okay.
That's
no,
it.
I got it.
That's not what we've
It's two
been hired
different
to do,
questions
you know?
there.
That's it.
Okay, yes, Kim.
Well, first of all, I think we should have the ability to talk about the merge because it does affect our current students, how we outreach to our community, how we interact. But secondly, every meeting doesn't need an update from the merge committee. I mean, it could be, what are they going to say, finance? We haven't decided on anything in 3 weeks. That's not necessarily needed, but maybe once a month, she can come in, do an update. We will still be able to have the discussions that we need to have and focus on as our school committee without, just to feel comfortable.
So I just want to restate and see if I'm hearing it correctly. You're saying that in terms of the motion that's on the floor, you're against the motion on the floor, but what you would like to see is that perhaps monthly or on an as-needed basis, that Lucy is invited to give an update, and that would be a separate motion should this motion be turned down.
I withdraw my motion.
You withdraw your motion?
Yep.
And the second to that was?
I seconded it.
Okay. Will you support withdrawing that?
The motion, I gotta make sure I got this right in my head. The motion was to have her be a part of the update, essentially.
This item, since we put it on our agenda each meeting, it's to have Lucy Prashker as chair.
I can't support that. I think, I agree with this original motion that if we're gonna have the update, she should be giving us an update from the planning board officially. Now, I'm not convinced that we need that every meeting, but if we're gonna have the update, we should have the update from the regional school district planning board.
Okay, so you would support withdrawing the current motion, and I think you're supporting what Kim has been saying.
I thought the original motion was.
No.
No, Carl was saying whenever.
And Carl has withdrawn that.
But he hasn't
So you
Okay.
have to withdraw your second and then go with a new motion.
Okay, I guess I'm not clear on what the original motion was. Fine, I'll consent to withdraw.
Kim, do you want to make the motion you've been speaking to?
I would like to make a motion that Lucy Prosker, as head of the merge committee, be able to speak as needed for updates or in, if it's once a month but not every school committee meeting. So, and that the agenda that Lucy will be speaking of, or at the topics that Lucy will be speaking of, be included in our agenda package when we receive them from Lynette.
Okay, do we have a second to that?
Can I just ask her a question? Would you agree with the clause that I tried to put in?
Which one's that?
Which says that we, in effect, the school committee would agree ahead of time on that's going to happen.
Well, I guess we would have to, depending on what our agenda is. If it's a packed agenda, it's not something that we could address. So I think we would have to agree.
I have a further question.
Wait, before we discuss, we need a second to Kim's motion.
Well, my question is about her motion.
Yeah, but we need a second before we discuss it.
You have to second it before you can open it.
Until there is or is not a second.
Do we have a second from anyone?
I'll second it.
Okay. Go right ahead, David.
Okay, so your motion, I didn't hear this clearly in the motion. Your motion is to not have it be a standing meeting.
Correct.
But I didn't hear in the motion that Lucy would definitely be a part of any particular update meeting. If we have an agenda item for her for an update, then
So if
she
she
is giving the
submits-
update.
Yeah, so if she submits something, it's on our agenda, she is the person that will be coming in and giving the update from the 8 Towns Merge Committee.
Right, but that wasn't a stated part of the motion.
Yes, it
Yeah,
was. That is part of her. Her motion is that there be, by invitation by the school committee, to Lucy Prashker as chair of the regional planning board to provide an update as we would invite her. And that update, the same way as the update from the superintendent and from Sandy, from everyone, would be included in our packet. That's the motion, correct, Kim?
Yes,
Okay.
and it's as needed, but not consistent.
Carl?
So I have two questions for the moving member. Who determines as needed?
Well, she would.
Oh, so
Yeah,
Lucy-
so if she presented us something and said, I would like to give an update,
And that has to be presented to...
just
the-
like anything else we
No,
discussed.
please, let me
Sorry.
finish my question, and then you can respond. So does your motion say that she must request prior to the presentation of the agenda? when she's not a party to preparation of the agenda? How could she know?
I think it would be my
Unless she's
responsibility.
clairvoyant.
I mean, to answer the way I see it, it would be my responsibility that the agenda for March 2nd, I give her the list of all the meetings, and that Lucy would say, more than 48 hours in advance, obviously, I would like to be giving an update to the Southern Berkshire Regional School
Right.
District School Committee.
So does that mean that since Lucy has, as we all here do, have the meetings of March 2nd, 9th, April
Right.
13th, 27th, May 11th, June 1st, June 15th, can she make a request to you, let's say tomorrow, that she requests to be on the agenda for all of those meetings?
She
She could, okay.
But doesn't mean that she will. I mean,
No, of course,
Yeah.
she's the one who decides
Right.
that, not we.
but isn't that
And
where
then
as needed
we-
comes in?
That's where it would be determined that in planning the agenda, we would say, that's why she's preparing material. I mean, Lucy's not going to, has a zillion meetings. If all she's going to do is report, we're still working on X, is she going to want to take the time to say, still working on
okay.
X? I would say, let's try it.
Well, again, I would be against it.
That's okay.
Other than if we put the clause in
Yeah.
that we, as the body that is inviting, has to make the decision first.
Okay, so then, would you take an amendment
Yes,
that
because,
if Lucy gives me a list of requests, at the next meeting, I would then say to the school committee that the chair of the regional planning board is requesting to present updates on March 9th. Will you approve it?
I think that is the way to do it.
yes,
And you'll accept that amendment to your motion?
yes.
And will you accept that? You seconded it, Dennis. Will you accept that second?
Yes.
Okay. So the way the motion will read now is, it would be my job to provide Lucy, if she doesn't already have it, with the dates of all upcoming meetings. And that Lucy Prashker, as chair of the planning board, would request that she wants to present and provide a written update. And then I would bring to the school committee, Ms. Prashker has requested that she present on date. Okay? That's the way the motion reads.
And then
All
the
right.
school committee can,
And the school committee could either say no or yes.
is that what
All
you
right.
say? Okay.
Do we have any further discussion as it's 25 after 7? In which case, let's start voting. Nancy?
I'm going to abstain. I'm confused by the whole thing.
David? It's just a yes or a no or abstain.
No.
Okay, Carl?
Present.
Okay, Sarah?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
No,
Okay,
Abstain.
and I'm a yes. So that gives us, I wasn't keeping
Well,
track.
I knew that was gonna happen.
I had 3 abstains,
I think you have 4 yeses.
4 yeses,
and 2 no's.
and 2 noes. Okay, so the 4 yeses win.
I don't mind whatever you decide, but I think there are some policy things that have to be looked at. I think two things that should be looked at would be public comment and agenda formation. Those are two policies that are already in place, and this is not the way we do the agenda. Just
Oh, wait a second. Also, I realize according to abstain equals a no.
I don't know that that's true.
No, it does not.
That does not.
That's not the way. All right, so the four.
So I think it just pulls us out. Carl might know better than I do, but that should just pulls it out.
So do we check policy first?
Well, can we have a roll call of the votes? Because I may want to change my vote.
Okay, let's try it again. Roll call of the vote. Kyle.
No, shouldn't it be no? Oh, okay, yeah.
Kyle, abstain.
No.
Art, no.
Yes.
Kim.
Yes.
Yes. Dennis, yes.
Sarah, yes.
Sarah.
No.
Yes.
No.
All right. Carl, no. David.
No.
No. Nancy.
She abstained.
Abstain.
Nancy. Abstain. Bonnie, yes. Okay, we have two abstains, 1, 2, 3 noes, and 1, 2, 3, 4 yeses. Okay? In that case, it carries. All right? I will present this, Lucy obviously heard it, I will present it to Lucy to determine if she is willing, under these circumstances. And two, based upon what Beth said, I am going to ask that the policy subcommittee look and see if there is any issue related to what we just passed.
I think there is.
Well, that's why I'm asking that the policy subcommittee, and do it before our next meeting. Does anyone have any objection to my asking the policy subcommittee to look into this?
No.
Okay, fine. So the policy subcommittee will look into this item. All right. The chairman's report, I'm going to make it really quick. There are a few things that have come up over the past month, and I am hoping that with our winter storms and everything, that this would be amenable. We've had a discussion of goals, school committee goals, several times. And I am thinking that it might make sense at this point, instead of having the whole committee discuss it, is, since we want it to be in keeping with the superintendent's evaluation, that we ask the superintendent's evaluation subcommittee to draw up goals for us to consider at our next meeting. So that's my thought there. I would obviously ask for committee input on that. That's number one. Number two, the request that Lucy also brought up related to working together with our outreach, community relations, public school advocacy. Nancy, I hope that you can put that on your very first meeting agenda. Number one. Number two, Also, I had noted, it's now appeared on 4 of our agendas, whether to follow up on the letter. And I have, in my update, am asking that we get a recommendation, that you put that on your agenda as well for your meeting. 3, what?
What? The letter?
Because the letter originated in a subcommittee, and therefore, should we drop it or continue or do anything, should come out of that subcommittee. And I think it's best if we have the subcommittee then can make a referral to the full committee at the next meeting. Also, because we are deep into budget season, again, I'm piling this on your committee, we have to start getting ready for the newsletter that goes along with budget season.
And when and that last year, that, I'm just bringing up something to type on here. Last year, I'll do apologies to everybody, this is my first time, could be only my 3rd time doing the community outreach letter, and timing is my question.
Mid-March.
Yeah.
Hold on a second, Brian. So you want goals and you want school committee goals?
Get some coffee.
Yes? And
I will send it to you in a note. I just.
all right, yeah,
If
that
that
sounds
makes it
good.
easier
That's
for
great.
you.
I'm sorry, my brain is still on
Okay.
brainy work here. And then the dates for when that letter has to be out is the middle of April? What, did we do it right before April break last year?
So you need to start meeting mid-March after the budget hearing has happened and is approved. So between mid-March and prior to probably the week before town meeting would be the window that you have to prepare.
And then my recollection was that we had to get it to Carrie, like I said, my recollection is we had to get it to Carrie before the spring break, is that correct?
I don't know when the timing, but you have about a month window from mid-March to mid-April.
But we need those other items, you should have a February meeting on that. Something else that, and I'll speak to Jim about the issue of the goals. If the committee agrees that in terms of our goal setting, that should be a first step. Let that subcommittee give us suggestions. Any objection to that? All right, seeing none, I'm sending it to that. Then the other thing that has come up, and I think this has to go to policy, I've been contacted in writing, in person, and via a phone call, and it's not huge amounts of people, but given it's Sandusfield, 4 to 5 people is huge amounts of people. The question has come up of their interest in joining our district, possibly. And I think the place this would go, and this is my report, I noted, we probably should send this to policy for initial discussion after I went through the guidelines of chapter 71 today. Did you have a comment?
No, I just, if we do go through there, I did get the contact people that we need to speak to in reference to that.
Oh, okay, good.
So.
Are you on policy?
No, I didn't know I was going to policy, but I'll sit in on that meeting. I will sit in on that meeting.
I'm just suggesting that's, yes.
But I will sit in on that.
Do you remember that we went
Yes.
through that exercise
Yes,
with both
yes.
Sandusfield and Otis
Yes.
together at
Yes.
one time?
Yes.
And Farmington River.
And Farmington River.
And Farmington River.
Yes.
And it lasted about, 4 weeks?
No, it lasted longer than that. You did a lot of work.
So can we?
But it seems from people who've contacted me, when I say, they said circumstances have changed. So I think it would be appropriate that it go to policy.
Send us field I'd like to have.
Well,
Okay.
They have a great.
Question.
Question.
Yes, Dave.
Is this just citizens and residents who are asking about joining, or is this actually from the district, those other schools? Like is this an official request from the schools, or is this just citizens?
This is residents who are inquiring about whether there is a possibility. This is not from the school district itself.
Okay. Well, I mean from those districts, not from ours.
Because these are people the people who contacted me are residents of Sandusfield.
Okay.
Two of whom I know already choice their kids here. The others, I don't know where their kids are. It just was, like an email or the phone call, kid does go here already, and the person who approached me in person, the children do go here. So this is not from a principal or anybody else. All right, that is the end of the chairman's report. Superintendent's report.
Sure, so, really incredibly busy time of year, as you all know. I just want to talk about three things really quickly. One, I just want to follow up on the community conversation that was held on Tuesday evening. As promised, as part of that, we are going to compile all the notes, questions, ideas, concerns from all the different sources, and we're just going to put it in a report and provide it to the school committee, and you can decide what next steps you want to take with the data that was collected. I do want to take the opportunity, and I know Bonnie did it today on behalf of all of you, but to really thank my team. These are incredibly long days, and we felt like it was a week by Tuesday already. But they are awesome, and I don't do anything without all of their amazing hard work. So I wanted to make sure I said that. I have been having the privilege of holding small group meetings with groups of faculty and staff members of all different positions in the district over 5 days, 3 or 4 different sessions a day, after school sessions, whatever it takes to actively listen to what is working, what's not working, new ideas, concerns, questions, whatever is on their mind. And I use this and compile all of their feedback to develop, and bring back to the administrative team, but also share with all of them all of everybody's ideas. I have not made it over to New Marlboro Central and South Egmont. That's next week, and probably after break because there's just not enough days. But all of that will be incorporated into our district improvement plan and the budget. All of these ideas are being incorporated. And then budget, we are moving right along. We've held all of our internal meetings with faculty and staff, administrators in the business office. We have some limited assumptions from the state and local on things like regional transportation, reimbursement, estimated increase in insurance, the inflation factor, our bus transportation contract increase. Now we're putting that all together with our estimated revenues to get a preliminary budget projection, which we'll be presenting for the first time to the Finance Subcommittee on February 23rd. I am certainly glad it's not today, because as I looked at the number, it's way north of where I would traditionally be coming to see you. So I will be using every minute, because there's quite a bit of work to do before we head to the hearing. So that is my report for tonight.
I'm sorry, I should have said this. I know I sent you all a thank you note, as well as to Beth's team. I have to say, from several emails I've received already, people who heard from people how much they appreciated what we did and on Tuesday, and that was it's really been great to hear, and people who I never expected to have that positive response. So we should be seeing the article appear in the Eagle. The Edge obviously was out already. And I know it was a lot to give up a whole other evening, especially for those of you with kids. So I truly appreciate it. And I hope that, we will hear from both Beth and then as soon as Nancy's subcommittee meets, to get a sense of what we do next. Because that's what a couple of people have been asking. Where are you going next with all of this? So I'm sorry I didn't get that in before, but Beth, thank you. Do we have anything from Julie?
She is under the weather today, so we're going to skip over that one.
Okay, not that I want to, but Sandy, go to it.
Good evening. I'm going to be very brief. First off, I want to thank everybody here for all the commitment to Southern Berkshire, because obviously everyone's spending a lot of time focusing on how we can continue to support our students and everybody else here. But I wanted to also share, it was the 100th day of school, and I had a brief meeting in the restroom this afternoon with Jennifer Rossi, one of our pre-kindergarten teachers, and she told me that they were talking about, like, what would you like to have 100 of? Like, and one of the 3-year-old girls said, I would like to have 100 pairs of shoes, because shoes are fabulous. And I just thought that was the greatest.
I just want to say that is my read aloud classroom. I know. I'm just saying.
Have you brainwashed them?
Maybe just
I know. I thought of you when that was said, but I thought that was great. That was a great little story. But anyway, that's all I have tonight.
That's a great one.
So cute.
I guess the game's over.
It is. Focus.
Early college, do we have anything?
We have Lindy.
We have Lindy.
Is it okay if I sit here?
Yes, please.
No. Can sit there. Thank you for coming.
So this is also quick, a few upcoming event announcements. The school committee is invited to join us for a school assembly this upcoming Tuesday, the 14th. From 12:09 to 12:39 in the auditorium to celebrate some early college success that's happened so far this year. Our next community visioning session will be Tuesday, April 8th at 6 p.m. in the cafeteria. Please spread the word about this event. I'm getting flyers made. We just decided on the date. The program design is based on input from the Southern Berkshire Regional School District community, and this is one of their chances to provide that feedback and input for that event. So those are the events. Our first Mount Everett faculty member, Kevin Wogamuth, has completed his early college instructor certification. Yes. So that means he's fully certified to teach college credit classes here at the district, and he actually has been teaching classes through the certification process, and he's done a great job. He was presented with a certificate today in a very small ceremony, so congratulations to him. Southern Berkshire Regional School District was invited to join the Mass Alliance for Early College. That's a nonprofit organization working to advocate for early college programming across the state. Their goal is specifically to close the equity gap by race and income. Membership is free for schools, and that means we're invited to participate in working groups on that topic, so we've agreed to join. On December 7th, I presented an overview of the early college designation to the Monterey Select Board. That's a presentation that's part of ongoing community outreach. I've made my way through most of the towns and a lot of smaller meetings like PTA and PTO meetings. The chairperson of the board, whose name I can't remember right now, on behalf of the select board said they were happy to hear about the new designation and expressed particular interest in programming to support vocational learning as well. So
Justin Maycook?
I think so. I forgot his name, but yeah. I'm on the agenda for the upcoming meeting for the Alford Select Board on February 13th. I think that's at 6 p.m. And my last announcement, there's new contact information. So early college at SB R.S.D. or internships@SBRSD. Our email accounts, they're just aliases. They go to me, but they're a little bit easier to remember if there are community members who would be a good fit for our internship host or any questions about early college. You can use those email addresses.
So what are you asking us to do something there?
Just be aware.
Okay. And I love those 2 banners when you come into the camp.
Yeah, we've got
Community
we've got some-
entrance.
I think, I guess my comment is that it seems like awareness has elevated to a point where most people I talk to are familiar with the idea of the early college designation, which is a really great place to be. We're not explaining the concept. Now they're asking really good questions about the program.
Great.
Any
Great.
questions from the school?
Do any of you think you'd be able to attend on, I know, middle of your workday on the
I might be able
14th? Yeah, I'm going to really try. I think it would be really nice.
My hair's dry.
Since you're your boss. I would like to, with the approval of the school committee, send a note of congratulations to Kevin as our first. If there's not any objection, I will send him a letter.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely.
Okay.
Another one of the long-term faculty member who has given a great deal of time and effort.
Can I quote you?
Yeah, absolutely. Just make sure my last name is Sarah, and then remind him that I'm Farron's mom, not necessarily Tanner's mom.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. You know what I'm thinking? Given the time, we're getting to know each other really. Maybe I can skip the bios again, intros. And Sarah, I really appreciate your suggestion.
Did you?
Yeah, but I think we have to be careful how we, post things, but yeah. So because these next things have to be done. So get to know each other. All right, preliminary draft, the academic calendar.
No, you gotta do this. You need to add me.
Oh, whoa. We need to vote to add Superintendent Riegelbuter as a second signator on our bank account. And we have a second on that?
Second.
Okay, that's Carl and Art. Any discussion? Seeing none. Nancy?
Yes.
No. David?
Yes.
Carl?
Yes.
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 Yes. Okay. So you are approved as the second signator. All right, now we go to the academic calendar.
So really, there is nothing to do except take a look at this because it's a draft calendar. It also is with the head of our union for, which is part of the agreement.
It's 13, is that a
13D,
D?
it's
That's a
13D.
D.
For their review, which is part of the process we go through. This is our first draft, taking a look at what our proposed scheduled dates are anticipated. We've already made, I'm not sure if she had time to make the change. Let me just take a look at what I saw here. Yep. So we just, so you can see where the half-days fall on the schedule, the holidays, the breaks, and the anticipated start and end right now. We kept it similar to where it was this year. This is a preliminary look.
Okay.
So we won't ask for a vote until
Okay.
another meeting. So this is your first look.
Okay.
While they're looking.
Does anyone have any question? Yes, Dennis?
This one doesn't have any of the school committee
this isn't the school committee meeting calendar, this is just the actual
Academic.
school academic.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, and then we do a seperate one for the school
Strictly
committee meeting.
academic calendar.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Okay, anything else? All righty. Moving along. We have unfinished business, the collective goals of the school committee and the superintendent. The goals, we already approved yours. I would like it if someone would be willing to put into a motion that the superintendent evaluation subcommittee take a first stab at matching up school committee goals with the superintendent's goals.
So moved.
We have a second on that?
Second.
David, okay. Any discussion? Okay, Nancy?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
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 Dennis?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
Art?
Yes.
And Bonnie, yes, all right. So Jim will find out that he's got some extra work there. All right.
That's what happens when you don't come to a meeting.
Take it out,
Right. His wife took him to celebrate his birthday out of town. Discussion and possible actions, follow-up letter. Can I have, if people would, a motion that we refer this issue to the Community Relations Public School Advocacy?
So moved.
And that was Carl, and that was Art as a second.
Yeah.
Any discussion? So that this would be, they would take the letter from September, they could kill the fact that there's going to be any response, they could recommend, it's just a recommendation to the full committee, that either there be a follow-up response, that the whole thing just be killed, or anything in between. Any further discussion? All right, seeing none. Kyle?
What, we're discussing following up the letter?
We're discussing sending it to Nancy's Community Relations Public School Advocacy to advise the full school committee.
There's a last dial on it.
Abstain.
Okay. Art?
Yes.
Who's on that committee?
Who's on that committee?
Yeah.
A bunch of people.
Besides.
Who's on your committee?
I don't remember, I just sent you an email to remind me, because everybody who's on it, please tell me you're on it.
I know I'm on it. I know I'm on it.
So if you do a search in your emails, Lynette has sent you the updated list, and I believe it is also posted somewhere, but I will try to remember to
I
have
think
her send it
Sarah,
again.
you're on it.
Oh, David, there you go.
Great, David. Who's on it?
Who's on it? Community Relations Public Schools Advocacy Subcommittee is Nancy, Kimberly, Sarah, Carl, and Bonnie.
I'm on it.
Thank you,
David.
David, thank you for being well prepared.
I have it.
I vote yes.
All right, so I'll send you guys as Kimberly,
Yeah.
Kim, Sarah, and Bonnie. And who was the other person?
Carl.
Other than me?
Carl.
I am.
Yeah, I'll send you guys an email out right now.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
And I will be back in, I'm right now in the big year, but I'll be back midweek next week, so I'll start to try and schedule.
Okay. All right, back to the voting.
Thanks, David. Keep rolling.
Yep,
Is there
Dennis,
anything else I'm on I should know about?
do you agree to send it to that subcommittee? We're up to you.
Yes.
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 And me, yes. Okay, done. All right. Subcommittee reports. Sarah, your finance committee met. Do you have a report for us, basically?
A little bit. We did meet, finally got to meet, and we did go through, like you said, it's preliminary, there's a lot on here. The principals and vice principals presented everything, the grounds people presented stuff. But it's still all moving, it's fluid. There's nothing really set in stone yet because there's, I think, a lot more that has to be done. But if I've missed anything, Beth, please.
No, you were good. It's just the operations and capital side of the budget.
And just so that you know, assuming she will continue, both David and Dennis attended and Sarah allowed for questions during the process, so.
No, you're on.
Oh, I'm on it.
Yeah.
That's why you attended. That's what it is.
Let's try that again.
This is
Okay.
not going well for me tonight.
We talked about finance.
All right, community relations.
You're not on finance, Kim.
I am.
Yeah,
I'm
she
actually
she was added late.
I was
She
added
was on
late.
there, yeah.
Well, this
Yeah,
is
that's
what
why
we
there's
started with.
probably an update to that one.
Right. Yes,
Don't
there is.
confuse me, Dave.
So, community relations, public school advocacy, we know where that stands. Policy, where do we stand, Dennis?
Well, we
need to get a meeting.
I think we need to have a meeting, but we haven't gotten any new policy from MASC lately, so, but it appears that we do need to have a policy.
Okay, so you'll corral your people?
Yep.
Okay, personnel negotiations, we haven't met.
Building grounds hasn't met.
Okay.
I'm on that too.
Yep.
Superintendent's evaluation. Jim's not here, but I don't think they've met.
Yes.
We did meet.
Oh, that's right, we did meet.
Yeah.
Want me to help you?
Yes, help me.
Okay, so really what was in here which was approved by the Superintendent's Evaluation Committee was, the goals were originally approved, but this was an example of action steps and all the indicators based off the rubric and the elements, and then the action steps and potential evidence that would support all of those. So that's what the Superintendent's Evaluation Committee reviewed. It's always ongoing, and things will be added to that as you hit the final evaluation at the end of the year, but these are just some examples of what you could be looking for to support those goals and actions.
Thank you. It's now coming back to me
Oh, good,
totally. Do you need us to vote on that for a final approval?
Well, you should probably report that you recommended approval to this committee.
That's right, but he's not here to do it. All right, in that case, I will report that we recommend to the full school committee that you approve the superintendent's goals for 2022, 2023. It's the recommendation of the subcommittee that you do approve this.
So moved.
We have a second on that?
Second.
Okay.
I'd like to move that we table this for the next meeting, because there's a lot here, and I thought we were sending that back. For a prior vote, we moved to have the superintendent's goals aligned with the committee's goals, and that was being referred to the subcommittee.
She does it. We have to then align. We did send it back for adjustments, and that's been done.
Right, but we voted earlier in this meeting to send that to the committee for alignment. Why would we vote on this now when we're waiting on relevant information?
Because what we voted was to have that our goals go to the subcommittee.
The school committee
The
goals.
school committee goals.
Not the superintendent's
Not the
goals.
superintendent goals. The superintendent goals were approved by the subcommittee, and the subcommittee is recommending to the full school committee that they approve the superintendent's goals. That's the motion on the floor.
But the stated purpose of the referral was to make sure that the school committee's goals are aligned with the superintendent's goals. Why would we vote on the superintendent's goals when that alignment has not been achieved?
A point of order. There's been a motion made to table.
We have a motion on the floor to
table.
approve.
It hasn't yet been, no.
Hasn't been seconded.
It hasn't been seconded.
Thank you.
Let's see if there's a second.
Is there a second to tabling? Seeing none, we're back to the main motion, which is to approve the superintendent's goals based on the recommendation of the subcommittee. All right, seeing no further discussion, we're voting on approving the superintendent's goals for 22-23. Kyle?
Yes.
Art?
Yes.
Yes.
Dennis?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Yes.
No.
And Nancy? Nancy?
Yes?
And Bonnie, yes. All right, so we have 8-1, those are approved. These will now be the goals to which we will select goals for our subcommittee. For our school committee, excuse me. Executive minutes review. Carl had to cancel. Are you going to set up another one?
Yes. Yeah, my report is that we haven't had a meeting. The meeting was originally scheduled, canceled. I expect within the next 2 or 3 weeks to herd the cats on that
Okay.
review committee into a meeting.
All right. Curriculum.
I mean cats, pussy cats. I don't mean like hep cats,
Okay, yeah, not too. Curriculum subcommittee, Julie hasn't called us, so we
Not as
haven't
of yet.
had one. Early childhood, there hasn't been a gathering, or the child care, so we got through
That's
that.
on us, we gotta get on.
Okay. Future agenda items, the audit report, and,
We're still waiting for that to
okay.
be completed.
And before I entertain a motion to go into executive session, Carl has brought something to my attention, which I believe should be, it can be done in open session, right? The issue you're raising?
It doesn't come, I don't think it comes with any executive session exception to open meetings, so
Okay.
yes.
It's an issue that Dennis noted has discussed with Carl, and they brought it to my attention. And Carl, why don't you speak to it?
Okay.
And my recommendation is that we, after speaking with Carl, that we refer this to council. But Carl, go ahead.
Okay, yeah. I just want to point out that when I talked to you immediately prior to your calling this meeting to order, there were 2 things that I wanted to discuss. The first one is, and Dennis Sears gets full credit for pointing this out to both me and Bonnie. I don't know which order we came and it being pointed out, and it's not important.
You were first.
Was I? Okay, well, it doesn't really matter. In the restatement of the regional school district agreement, it provides that all elections for school committee members after the first biennial election following the restatement of the agreement provides that all school committee elections shall be for a period of 4 years. Therefore, there are 3 members of this current school committee that I believe, and Dennis believes, and if I'm misspeaking on your behalf, you let me know, but wait till I finish, have been elected improperly. It's not necessary to find fault how that happened, but I think that this is a matter that we cannot resolve here at the school committee level. And so that I move that we refer this to school district council for their opinion on whether or not something has to be done to remedy the apparent mistake in having 3 members be sworn in improperly for a 2-year rather than a 4-year period.
Can't remember who they are.
So I move.
Was one me?
Pardon me?
Was it me?
It's 3 members. Kyle was one of them.
I think.
Sarah was one of them. I think you are the third, but I'm
No, it
not
would
sure.
be
No?
David.
Yeah,
David.
No,
I
I was
was
gonna say,
special
I was,
election for Sheffield, so yeah.
because I was actually on, yeah.
Yeah.
They
So-
were write-ins, right?
So I move that we refer this matter to school district council for an opinion, and the opinion will, well, that's my motion. I don't want to
we have a second
overburden
on
it
that?
with verbiage.
Do we have a second on that?
I'll
Okay.
second it, but if I could make a comment.
Well, now that we have a second, please go right ahead.
Well, my concern at the time was that, well, you know, these people that are in these positions of having a 2-year term probably had no cognizance at all of what we're just talking about. And that maybe the easiest thing to do, as opposed to paying for counsel, might be to just see if they are willing to accept a 4-year term, or to, you know, hopefully, you know, that would be the easy,
Well, let me
straightforward
address it.
solution. Right.
Yeah.
According to our regional agreement, should somebody leave before his or her term, the appointive authority in our regional agreement, which is comprised of the select board of the town plus the remaining school committee members, gets to appoint somebody to fulfill the term until the next election. After further discussion, going to Chapter 71 of Massachusetts General Law, there is a line that they show that probably should have been put on the ballot, which sort of explains the amount, the time. Lynette did the research because we've had either a combination of somebody who died, people who've resigned, people who've moved. So according to the way she tracked it, unless there's something different, the terms are correct. In other words, following, you would be fulfilling a 4-year term that began back 2 years ago. Same thing, same thing. The question is, and Carl has brought this up, and why I think it's worth getting a legal opinion, in my view, because as Carl pointed out, this could jeopardize our school committee. I think it's worth finding out from council. Is it okay, what we've done, that they are signed? We could show the periods of time of the 4 terms. Is there something that could be done to rectify it now so that it is a clear understanding when these terms are going to end? That is my opinion. Carl?
Well, the problem with Dennis's approach is that I think, and I don't mean this as a criticism of your approach, but I think it's short-sighted to seek to save what's probably a very small amount of attorneys' time at a reduced hourly rate that this district gets from our attorneys, because let's say that we adopt your suggestion, or what seems like your suggestion, that we just get the people to accept a 4-year term. That may not be allowed.
Exactly.
And if that isn't allowed, there is a risk that any action taken by an improperly constituted school committee can be deemed a nullity. That would be a very serious thing if we went back and the 6 meetings or 10 meetings or 15 meetings during this year and subsequent years were deemed a nullity. It's not worth it. It's worth spending a few $100s or $500 to get a legal opinion, and then we can say we were guided by advice of counsel, and we would be held harmless, so to speak, for any error that we made. And I think that's what we have to do.
Carl, in your usual good lawyer form, you've made me change my mind.
All right, do we have any further discussion? Yes.
The members who are affected by this potential error, isn't that something they should recuse themselves from? Because that's personal involvement in the decision?
No, we're not at this point, you're a full member of the school committee.
But can I ask David a question? What are you recusing yourself from?
It would be, well, the question is it necessary? And it's on the vote as to whether or not to send it to the lawyer.
How would that represent a conflict of interest if you participate in the vote?
I don't know. That's why I'm asking.
No, but you said, wouldn't that represent a conflict of interest? Can you state what you think the conflict is? How your vote represents a conflict? You're just saying, I agree that we should get a legal opinion on this. That's not a conflict.
That's it.
Okay.
Right. Any further discussion?
Kyle has something.
Yeah.
To say, I know for a fact that we were up for a 2-year term on the ballot, said 2-year term.
Yes.
I can't imagine that we could be like, oh, we're going to serve a 4-year term. I would have assumed that that's a violation of election law.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's how people voted.
Right.
But that's why are you stating you agree with the motion, which is get legal opinion?
Yeah, I agree with that. I seconded the motion. So.
Right, okay. In that case, okay.
So the answer is yes.
All right,
That's
if there
basic agreement.
there isn't any further discussion, why don't I start with Nancy?
Yes.
Kyle?
Yes.
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 Yes. All right, unanimous. We will refer this to council, and should we need the additional input, I feel we could call upon both either Dennis or Carl, and I will get the exact quote from Chapter 71 as to the line that I think should have been on the ballot.
Yeah. If just to add that if anybody needs to have a reference point outside of Massachusetts general law, there is a restatement of the regional agreement dated January 24, 2011. It's available online.
Right.
It's available on the SBRSD
On
website.
that's where I went.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's pretty clear, unless there's something we're not considering, and that's why it should not be a decision rendered by the school committee, but
Right.
by an independent
Right.
legal opinion.
Okay.
And now I have one more thing, having nothing to do with this.
Right.
It's a question to either you or Beth or both. The meeting held in the Thomas Consolati Performing Arts Center, I like to give some recognition to Mr. Consolati, rather than simply have his Tac Pack. So,
The Thomas A. Consolati Performing Arts Center. And we owe him a lot for that, really.
that's right. Yeah, it's a wonderful space. That meeting on Tuesday, this Tuesday night, was that noticed?
Yes.
Oh, all over the place.
No.
No,
Noticed
just as
in accordance with?
Yes.
Yes, it was
Procedure.
listed as a
Posted
posted school committee meeting.
Oh, I'm so pleased that happened.
Yes.
Yeah, we,
No.
for sure.
Okay, good.
Immediately,
Who gets credit for that? You, Beth?
yes,
Take it when you can get it.
yes.
Well, no,
Lynette and I always make sure
I'm
that we.
I'm really happy to hear that, because I was worried.
No,
Yeah,
but
we wanna
we
make sure.
discussed, Beth said to me, we're listing it as a school committee meeting because
Right.
we will definitely have at least a quorum of the school committee, and we're not fooling around.
Good job, Madam Superintendent.
Okay. I have one other thing in terms of a future agenda item. And I don't know, Art, whether you would take this on again or how we should. The request has come that we look at our own regional agreement. We had reactivated just before the pandemic hit, an ad hoc subcommittee, which was to go over our entire regional agreement and look to see if there are issues that had to be raised that should be brought before the towns. Obviously, the towns are the signatories to the regional agreement. And Art had headed that subcommittee at the time. And then I don't know if you want to say spared, but the pandemic kept that committee from acting. I mean, it had been incredibly active in the fact that we now have more equalized, fair assessment method than we had previously. And it really has helped take some of the bumps out of what happens, particularly the way poor New Marlboro got hit. You know, they pick up 3 kids and all of a sudden, you know, they were paying who knows what in addition. So, given issues that was brought up by David, and then a couple of other things that have come up, I would like us to agree to reactivate the Regional Agreement Review Ad Hoc Committee, so that we could take, it's completely separate from anything going on elsewhere, but that we can look and see if there are any issues that have to be addressed.
So moved.
Okay?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion?
The discussion is, I cannot do it.
I was just going, you beat me to it. I don't think that Art could take it on. If we pass this motion, I will ask for volunteers who would be willing to serve on this committee. So is there any further discussion on the motion? All right, seeing none, I'll start with David.
Yes.
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
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 Nancy?
Yes.
And Bonnie, yes. So therefore, we will reactivate that committee to look at our regional agreement. I will send out a note requesting volunteers.
I have a motion.
Yes.
Can we just volunteer now? Have everybody decide who's volunteering right now?
Well, we're missing, well, I could send out an additional one. Anybody who wants to volunteer to be on that committee?
What's the title of the committee?
It's the Ad Hoc Regional Agreement Review Committee. Subcommittee. It's to look over our regional agreement to see if there are issues to be addressed. So David, Dennis, anyone else volunteering?
Carl?
Would you?
It'd be good to have a lawyer on there.
Usually the complaint is that the school committee has a lawyer.
No, this is not a complaint, this is a request.
No, I know. I'm saying in the past.
Yes, I know.
That was the biggest strike against me even being here.
Right.
Yeah, I'll agree.
Thank you.
I'll be on that.
All right, anyone else who's willing to take it on? Thank you, Kyle. All right, thank you for shortcutting that.
Maybe David wants to be the chair of that ad hoc committee.
Sure, I'll volunteer for that.
See?
I appoint the chair.
That's the kind of thing that-
Oh, you appoint the chair? Okay.
Yes, those are the
Sorry.
rules. Excuse me, Nancy?
I'm just saying it's an important thing to do. I thank you guys for taking it on. It's the type of thing that I would not be good at, and I appreciate that there are people who are.
Okay. All righty. So we have the subcommittee and what?
I have enough committees that I don't know I'm on.
Good at it.
Hey. Yeah, but you'll be good at asking questions.
Yeah.
That's how we get ahead on this. All right. Okay, we have the subcommittee done. Any other future agenda items that you would like to see?
No.
Carl?
No, just simply, I'd like to have a report or a member of the guidance office appear before us to give us a report on the state of the guidance office and to be able to respond to questions from the committee, because I have a few that
Okay.
I've thought of.
We had kind of done, I think this might have been at the beginning of the year, we kind of did a schedule of different reports based on kind of what's happening. So there is one slated for maybe more like April or May already,
yeah,
just based on that, if that's okay.
Okay.
But there is one
Yeah,
on
no,
there.
I don't want there to be any particular time
No, but I just
pressure.
wanted you to know that we understand that, and I
Okay.
think it's a very important piece. So there is one to be slated somewhere
Good.
towards the end of the school
Good.
year.
Can
That's
you
fine.
wrap into it, please, college
Well, that I think will be a
and
different.
guidance? Oh, you want to do it separately? Okay.
I don't know, they are working very closely together, so, but there's a
I know
lot
it's that
just in
open.
early college.
All right, so
and-
then my request is college acceptances and
Oh, well, that,
scholarships and all that.
that's guidance, that's guidance.
That's why
I'm sorry, I thought you were
asked.
asking early college.
No,
and-
plain ordinary. All right, so that will go with guidance, thank you. Anybody have anything else for future agenda items? Okay, with that, I would like a motion on executive session.
I move we enter executive session pursuant to MGL C-30A, Section 21, with the purpose to effect on the bargaining position of the public body and the chair so declares, and not to reconvene in open session.
Do we have a second to that?
Second.
All right, in that case, vote. Kyle?
Yes.
All right, Nancy?
Yes.
Okay, Art?
Yep.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
David?
Sure, yes.
And Bonnie, yes. All right, it's unanimous. Can we shut everything off and stay here?